want to talk a little Auburn coaching vacancy. We already did our reaction to Hugh Freeze being fired. Already talked about a couple of names that we would throw into the mix there to be the next head coach out there on the Plains. But our very own Pete Nakos has his full hot board out right now at on3.com. So, y'all, if you don't have a membership at on3.com, you're missing out. There's intel up to the minute, man. I'm telling you, you will not be wasting any money by buying a membership there because you'll be dialed into all the things that you know and love and care about when it comes to your football team. But you take that knowledge a little bit deeper with great intel from a very own Pete Nakos. So, again, make sure you have membership there. The whole full hot board is yours to have and to hold on there. But I want to break down some names on Pete's hot board here in a matter of moments. Before we get to that, though, I want to talk about the mold that I think Auburn needs for the next head coach. I know there's a lot of comparison for them with the Florida job and the LSU job, and it makes sense. They're in your conference. They're also big-time logos, big-time jobs. I think that Auburn, though, actually, what they need, in my mind, is a lot more in the same vein of what Penn State needs to hire. Juice, energy, personality of we're going to go kick the door down, proven winner would be nice, obviously. But I think when we come to talking about these jobs, we get so focused on resume, and I think that's important and should be one of the first things you consider. I'm looking at personality for Auburn because you had a great roster the last couple of seasons at Auburn, especially this year. Could argue about last year, but especially this year, you had enough to go win these football games, and you haven't done that. I'm not here to tell you it's a Hugh Freeze personality problem, but the personality of that football team was not we're going to go take a game in the fourth quarter. They didn't have a lot of that dog in them, did Auburn. So I want to hire a head coach that has that dog in them. And we'll bring on Kaiden Smith to unpack this together. Kato, a lot of names, man, but if Auburn's looking to hire a dog, look no further than Jon Sumrall, right? I mean, he's on Pete's hot board as well. Proven winner, 38-10 over the last 4 years, one at Troy, one at Tulane. Culture guy, like a guy that is going to be a head coach in your conference, whether it's for you or against you, he might as well be for you because I think the Auburn job will be a great fit for him, and he is exactly what I need from a personality perspective when I'm talking about the next guy at Auburn. Juice, energy, all those things, activator. Jon Sumrall would be my number one pick for this job. He's on Pete's hot board. I know you're a Jon Sumrall guy. Your thoughts on this, Cato?
I love it, JD, and I agree with what you're saying as far as what Auburn needs right now. And you're not willing to blame Hugh Freeze for the culture there, but I am. Like when you're losing in week 2 to Cal last year, when you're losing to Arkansas last year to start that, have what I see 4 straight losses last season. This year not going well. The cherry on top being Kentucky. They need someone to just kick them in the butt really and change things up because the talent, like you mentioned, is not the problem. And I think Jon Sumrall is coming off of a tough Thursday night loss to UTSA, which Jeff Traylor is also one of the better coaches, if not one of the best coaches at the Group of 5 level as well. But Jon Sumrall, man, he's going to be in the SEC next year. And I think that the LSUs and the Floridas of the world will try to make big flashy hires. And I think Auburn getting a guy like this might not be the flashiest hire, but I think you look at what he does as soon as he shows up to every single program he's been to, and it's immediately been results, and it's doing it through the toughness, through inspiring your team, getting those wins when the talent is the same, when you're a less talented team. That's what Auburn has been struggling to do, closing out games. Jon Sumrall has done that. He's won championships at the Sun Belt level. Like, he will be very comfortable in a lot of situations. I feel like Auburn has been uncomfortable the last couple of years, and that's when you lose to teams that are less talented than you or games you're not supposed to lose. So this is a guy who doesn't do that, and I think flipping that culture on its head and getting someone that is the opposite of Hugh Freeze in a lot of different ways, I think would be huge for them.
Okay, let's go from a John to a James.
Oh.
Okay, so there is James Franklin on Pete Nakos' Auburn head coaching hot board. There's a lot of good and some weird to unpack here. Bad if you want to talk about the top 10 side of things. We'll get to that in a second when it comes to his record against AP top 10 opponents. All the dude did at Penn State was win 10 games every year. And at a certain point in time, that got sour, that got stale. And obviously, with the way the train came off the tracks this year, Penn State made a move and made a pretty hefty buyout to get him out of town. But when you talk about Auburn, if they're winning 9-10 games a year, like I understand at a certain point that would get stale if they had the same kind of reality they lived in at Penn State where we can't beat that top 10 team and we're having trouble getting over the hump. That would, of course, get old. But if I'm Auburn, I'm saying, no, we got all the resources in the world for you, James Franklin. If you're a winner, and you're going to bring that winning to us here on the Plains, like, we will take that in a heartbeat. So that's the good side of this, and that's the side that I get. The personality fit, though, to me does feel weird. What I said at the top of this thing, Cato, I think Penn State and what they would like in a personality is the same as what I would look for if I was an Auburn, a part of the Auburn hiring committee, rather, when it came to the next head coach on the Plains. I want someone a little bit extra fire, a little kick the door down to him, a guy who has continued to be ascending throughout the course of his career and gotten better and better. James Franklin's been great, but to me, the personality, the 4-21 against top 10 teams, personality of the football team would be a little bit weird to me. So it's a good hire in a lot of ways, but it would feel more weird than exciting if you were to land James Franklin, if you're Auburn.
I think that's a great description, more weird than exciting. It's definitely a strange fit. I don't think any of us can really close our eyes and forecast how that'll really go between him and the fan base and the donors and all that stuff. But again, it's about what kind of problem do you want to solve? And is James Franklin the kind of coach where he can just show up at Auburn and pick up where he left off at Penn State and be ripping off 10-win seasons? If you can guarantee that, I feel like every Auburn fan would be a fan of that if they're appearing in the playoff and doing all that things. It really depends about the standard, because I think James Franklin having the issue of not being able to beat top teams. Up until recently, he was winning every game he should, and that's something that Auburn very much needs. So I think if he does that, he'll be just fine on the Plains, but if not, that's when we can see things get sour pretty quickly. So it's an interesting one. I think when you look at this head coaching cycle, there's not going to be many people with a win-loss record and a resume that's up there with a James Franklin. Brian Kelly is in that case too, and it just goes to speak about the resumes of the coaches that have been let go this year. But I think it would still be something to be excited about. I think James Franklin's resume speaks for itself, like I mentioned, and I think that is one direction to go in. But I think that just balancing out between some of these offensive masterminds we have, some of these master motivators we have, and then coaches like James Franklin who do have a impressive body of work, but you question some of those other areas. It's a tough place to be, and I'd love the Auburn fans in the comments to maybe let us know what kind of archetype coach they think they would be best for them, and if James Franklin kind of fits that mold.
It's a great thought in general of if Auburn's going to win the games that they should win. In the context of this season, what games are different? Probably Missouri. Yeah. If you're going to go ahead and say the Georgia game is going to be that score at halftime, maybe you talk yourself into that being a win. Kentucky's definitely a win if you're talking yourself into games that you should have won based on talent level. A lot there for Auburn. But James Franklin, winning the games you're supposed to win, I think that would go a long way for the folks out there in the Plains. A lot of names here, Cato. We got Clark Lee, which I think would be one that makes sense. I don't know if you're getting away from his alma mater, but honestly, I think you and I agree on this. If you're Clark Lee, now might not be the worst time to sell the Vanderbilt stock with Diego Pavia. Not anti-Vandy on the show, just kind of how I feel about it. One name that jumped out to me on this hot board, though, Cato, Jimbo Fisher, making the hot board for Pete Nakos, baby. One, that'd be awesome for us in the college football media space. Two, he's got a national championship. Like, if you're playing devil's advocate and you're anti-Jimbo Fisher, you say, well, he's got a natty. How many coaches currently in college football can say that? Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney. I think that's it. Like, you add Jimbo Fisher to the mix, you say right away, we got a head coach won a national championship before here. Jimbo to the Plains, he'd have to adapt, obviously, right? He'd have to maybe change his way of thinking. He'd have to hire an offensive coordinator. I think the first thing you're saying if you're an Auburn fan with how things went at A&M. Jimbo Fisher to Auburn, if nothing else, would be interesting and fun.
Yeah, that's all it would be, I think. Interesting and fun. I mean, Jimbo, you're the $70 million man. I think if you have the biggest buyout of all time, you shouldn't come back to coaching. I think that's like your reward. It's like, congratulations, you broke this mark. Like, now you can just retire and chill in the sunset. When I wrote for the news desk, Jimbo Fisher was my least favorite coach to transcribe when they were talking, because he speaks so fast at his press conferences and every speaking engagement. But that aside, I just think it'd be splashy. It'd be a cool name to bring in there. But I mean, I think we saw what his ceiling, I guess you could say, at the SEC level at Texas A&M with so many resources, and probably even more resources than Auburn has right now, if we're being honest. And I think we've already seen kind of what the max Jimbo Fisher level of success can look at relative to this era and in the SEC. So I can't say this one gets me excited if I'm an Auburn fan, but from our perspective, it'd be fun and exciting for sure.
Yeah.
But I think Jimbo should just chill and enjoy that buyout.
Just jumping back into the SEC in itself would be a little bit like, oh, okay, good for Jimbo. Like usually you see guys get fired, big buyout, go do TV like Jimbo Fisher's doing right now, and then you go take a UNLV job like Dan Mullen. Then you go take a lower level job, work your way back up, get your sea legs. Jimbo Fisher going from A&M to the ACC network to Auburn. What a resume, dude. What a stretch for one Jimbo Fisher after that buyout. So I'm with you. That would be a little bit puzzling to me. But if you want to play devil's advocate and say, well, he's got a natty, it's like, yeah, you're not wrong there. Kato, any other names? There's a lot of names on this hot board. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but any names that maybe are on the hot board, aren't on the hot board? Who else do you just want in the discussion for the Auburn job with it being very, very freshly available as we're doing this show?
Yeah, so for me, first of all, Mac Brown has a national championship, so should we just throw his name in some of these? It's just funny how we hear like the Saban and the Urban Meyer, like there's going to be teams that make them say no, and like all of a sudden we're getting the Jimbo Fisher camp. Just why not? If you're not coaching right now, if you had a level of success, why not have your name thrown in all these rumors? So it'll be interesting to see if any of that comes to light for any of these guys who are not coaching right now, who have stepped away from the game. If anyone wants to dip their toe back in there, we know Ed Orgeron's pretty excited for it.
That'd be awesome.
So for me, you talked about what Auburn needs, and I like the archetype of a Jon Sumrall, of a Brent Key, that archetype of coach that is just players coach, super intense, run through a brick wall, shift the culture, toughness, winning games. I like that for Auburn. I think it would be a great kind of just detox from their last couple years. It'd be a great kind of coach archetype to start things over from scratch and try to reestablish your culture. Mm-hmm. But if I'm Auburn's AD and I'm looking at our situation right now, Hugh Freeze did not make good on his promise of being a elite offensive mind that was going to build this team in a way to where offense would be why they're successful. I think the defense is really good still. I think DJ Durkin is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. And you've seen that through their games, that the defense is not really where you're pointing when you're pointing at these losses. If I'm Auburn's AD, I'm trying to keep DJ Durkin there, keep that side of the ball as intact as possible with the turnover with the portal. And if I can't get one of these hard-nosed, tough culture coaches, I'm targeting Will Stein. I'm trying to get the best offensive mind I can get. I'm targeting Brian Hartline. These guys aren't on Heat's hot board, but these are the kind of guys I'm going for, because to me, if you can bring in a great offensive play caller and you can retain the talent of an Eric Singleton, of a Cam Coleman, if you can get the right quarterback in there or a kind of coach or coordinator that can get the most out of some quarterbacks who have been disappointed, who have been talented, but haven't quite lived up to the hype or what Hugh Freeze could have gotten out of them, I think all of a sudden Auburn's kind of competing right now in a little bit more immediate than versus a full long-term big-time rebuild. So for me, it's a two-way street. That's the two-way street I'd go down. And I think right now, given what the defense has done, I would lean towards trying to get an excellent offensive mind, an excellent play caller. So what if it's their first year as a head coach? We mentioned it before. There are plenty of guys who were first-year head coaches who are now the Kirby Smarts of the world, who are now the Dan Lannings of the world. So I would try to get a really, really good coordinator and keep my defense intact, I think. And if not, then we start from scratch with a one Jon Sumrall or someone in that vein.
The words out of my mouth, Cato. The very words out of my mouth. I would probably cut the G5 coaching search to two names. I'm taking Jon Sumrall, like we already mentioned. I'm taking Alex Golish, toughness, winner. I mean, they were 8-37 the 4 years before he got there at USF, and now they're a potential college football playoff contender. But if I'm not getting either of those guys, if I'm not hiring a sitting head coach at the Power 4 level, Will Stein is going to be a head coach at some point in time, and all the ingredients are there on the Plains to score a ton of points. All you need is a quarterback. That's not knocking Ashton Daniels or Jackson Arnold, but Will Stein, what he's done at the quarterback position, Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, Dante Moore right now, who could very well be a Heisman finalist in his own right should he turn it on at the end of the year. Like, the dude knows quarterback play. The dude knows offense. DJ Durkin, handle the defensive side. We're good over there. bring in Will Stein, who will be a head coach at some point in time. It might as well be for you, Auburn. So I would love Will Stein at Auburn. I think that is a home run and a half. If you're going to hire a coordinator, might not be the worst thing to look at the guy who's just churned out Heisman Trophy finalist quarterbacks over the course of the last couple of years. I would love Will Stein, Kate. That's a great call.
Yeah, and I think they would just give them the opportunity to retain their talent. Like that was the big thing with Hugh Freeze. It's like, okay, well, Hugh brought in a Deuce Knight. He brought in a Cam Coleman. Like, can you keep those guys once your coach gets fired? If you're any of those skill players who are probably a little bit tired of running routes and not getting the ball and running the ball a bunch and your quarterback scrambling, running for his life, a good way to get him to stay is be, hey, don't worry. Like, we're bringing in Will Stein. You know what his offense does. Like, you've seen the success rate of his players going to the New York for the Heisman finalist ceremony, to the NFL draft, receivers alike. Like, I think it'd be a slam dunk. And I think in this cycle, there's so many sitting head coaches who are being looked at and so many big time job opportunities that are open out there. I think any kind of coordinator that we've had that label for, as far as, oh, this guy's gonna be a head coach, like, I feel like their agents this offseason are saying, no, this is the cycle to start those interviews, take them more seriously, and this is your time to be a head coach. I mean, I don't think we're going to see a cycle like this for a while unless this is a new trend where so many big time marquee jobs open up. And I think as a result, you might be able to see a lot of these sitting head coaches get that extension, get that new deal, and all of a sudden the coordinator market, we start looking a little bit strongly there. For me, I go all in right now and try to get a Will Stein as early as possible and try to make it seem like, hey, like there are all these job openings. They want to call Saban, they want to call Urban Meyer, they want to call these guys who are sitting as head coaches. We believe in you, your offense, what you do. Come bring that to the Plains and let's make something happen. I would try to get him or a Hartline. I think those would be my two top guys if I was Auburn.
What happened to hiring coordinators, man?
Yeah.
What happened to that? I know now, I mean, these are big-time jobs that can take a big swing, but you hire a coordinator. History says hiring coordinators has worked out okay for Georgia, worked out okay for Oregon, so on and so forth. But, Cato, great stuff, man. I'm excited to unpack some of these potential hires here, especially on tomorrow's show. We will do a little matchmaking, if you will, for Auburn, for Florida, LSU. Yep, we'll do it. We'll talk Florida State as well. I'm not happy about it, but we'll do it. A lot of good stuff from Cato. A lot of good stuff from the entire On3 team here. So, again, make sure you have a membership. And if you want the full hot board from that man, Pete Nakos, go ahead and get locked in over there.